I want to introduce our reporters. Atir Khan is on the most keenly anticipated seat in this entire assembly election. He's tracking the results of the New Delhi seat, where we're seeing a mega clash between Kejriwal, Sheila Dikshit and Vijender Gupta. Jaskirat is joining us from Raipur, the one state where the Congress still believes it has a chance. Vijay Kao, my colleague, is reporting this morning from Bhopal. I want to go across first to Atir Khan on the battle for New Delhi. The exit polls and the opinion polls predict that Sheila Dikshit could end up losing New Delhi. And if that were to happen, that will be one of the biggest banner headlines emerging out of today's polls. What's it looking like on ground zero, Atir?
Rahul, we've been speaking to Sheila Dikshit, and she's quite confident of her win, but given the fact that the voting percentage this time was quite high, and people have turned out to cast their votes, especially in the constituency. We know that Aam Aadmi Party has been able to make dent, especially in various areas in Delhi, but this particular constituency is going to be a tough battle. We know that the former BJP Delhi President Vijender Gupta is also there, but then there is a way. We know that Arvind Kejriwal is also not speaking and is waiting for the results to come out to make that final, sort of comment on his victory or losing the battle. But certainly now there has been a tough fight in this constituency, unlike earlier when Sheila Dikshit had a cakewalk.
Kejriwal, in fact, went into a quick Vipassana after the fourth. He's just emerged from that yesterday. I want to go across to Vijay Kao in Bhopal, because Shivraj Singh Chauhan has already been calling people, accepting congratulations, thanking them for their role in the election. There's also a big Vijay Jalus that's been planned out. So Shivraj Singh Chauhan in Madhya Pradesh fully confident of a victory?
Exactly, Rahul. Shivraj Singh Chauhan and the camp BJP in Madhya Pradesh, here in Bhopal as well, very, very confident. We were speaking with Uma Bharti yesterday, and very confidently she said that she knows that around 150 is the number which they are targeting at and which they are going to achieve. What Uma Bharti was also pointing out on behalf of camp BJP here in Madhya Pradesh was that because of her addition and her return to the party this time around, they are not just going to have a victory but a thunderous one, so much so, Rahul. So pretty confident the BJP here in Madhya Pradesh. But we were also speaking to Suresh Pachauri, who's a senior Congress leader being sent here by 10 Janpad directly to oversee the elections here on behalf of the Congress. And he too this morning, before leaving to his center where his votes will be counted, was very, very confident. He said that this time around the anti-incumbency is pretty high. Factors such as crime, mining and other such factors will ensure that the Congress returns to power. So both sides are very, very confident of their victory. However, political pundits here and localites here in Bhopal are very clearly saying that the BJP is in all probability coming back. However, the margin of victory this time, Rahul, is going to be considerably lower than what was previously. Back to you.
We'll find out very soon. Jaskirat Singh Bhava had an opportunity to speak to Ajit Jogi in Chhattisgarh, and he seemed fairly confident. And this is now the one state where the Congress this morning still believes it is in with a real chance. And given how they were trying to discredit Ajit Jogi, he's the only man who's actually gone out there and put up a commendable fight for his party. Jaskirat.
Well, that is actually quite an interesting thing, because Ajit Jogi, while he was the main contender all along, wasn't officially considered so, which is quite understandable from the Congress perspective. But even when you see the campaigning which is going on in Raipur and all the adjoining districts, Ajit Jogi's face was actually missing from all the major billboards and all the major signs from the Congress party. It seemed like a centralized effort, but only the Pradesh Congress Committee and the other Congress leaders from Chhattisgarh were being showcased. However, we did catch up with Ajit Jogi and some other Congress leaders who were traveling from Delhi to Chhattisgarh. We asked them about the sense within Delhi, Congress central leadership about Chhattisgarh, and they feel that if there is one state where Congress could win, that would be Chhattisgarh. And the reason for that is because they feel that the development model on which the BJP is fighting over here has been very selective. It's only a very select few districts who have benefited from that development model. And Bastar, which was a main contention for Congress in 2003 and 2008 elections, having lost 11 seats of Bastar in both these elections out of the 90 seats that are there in Chhattisgarh, Chhattisgarh, they feel that these districts will actually turn around and now vote in favor of Congress.
Well, in fact, the tribal areas of Chhattisgarh in Bastar, the most Naxal-infested areas, saw record voting, and everyone's really wondering what that record voting means, because these are areas, out of those 13 seats, 11 are BJP dominated seats, so everyone wondering what that extra voting really means. The BJP, we've seen quite confident this morning. Is the Congress more circumspect? Let's just go across once again to Maruk.
And joining us this morning is Renuka Chaudhary, spokesperson of the Congress party. Renuka Chaudhary, I don't know how good this morning is for you, considering that most of the exit and opinion polls are saying it's going to be a 4-0 drubbing for the Congress party. Do you think that perhaps is the reason because, you know, primarily we're seeing that this would be the anger building against the UPA, against the Congress party, which we're seeing across the 4 states?
Not at all. Rahul, what we need to understand, it's early time as yet, and these are the very preliminary readings that you are getting. It's not indicative of anything, as we all know. You're also seasoned enough to understand that it depends on where the ballot boxes are, where the machines are, which count we're looking at. There are some places where we are strong and some places where someone else is strong. So it would be a bit premature to write us off as yet.
You know, one of the things that the Congress has been counting on is its various welfare schemes. And many are saying, experts are saying at this point, that this election is going to be a referendum on Sonyanomics and also Dolonomics as far as Gehlot government in Rajasthan is concerned.
That would be a very sad thing to say. Because whatever Mr. Gehlot did was actually for the common man. But we don't know if that's going to be the outcome of this election as yet. We are very, very optimistic. We got into the fray to fight and win. And it would be premature for us to look at it either way. But I would say that whatever was done with great good intention, and the fact that our commitment to the common man remains. And if this was before its time, is it an idea before its time? Is it something that we needed to change, to amend? That needs to be looked at much later. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I think we'll pull it off. Let's keep looking.
Renuka Chaudhary, you're looking very calm this morning. But the next question might not keep you that calm. I want to ask you about Delhi specifically. And now it seems to be that this is a contest between the BJP and AAP, and Congress is pretty much down to the 3rd position. What went so wrong?
You don't know that as yet. You don't know that as yet. And really, I mean, if that is what you envision, let me tell you, that would be a huge disappointment, because it would really, really mean that people are not aware of what is actually happening. It would either mean that we are not communicating enough, or it would mean that maybe they are spoiled for a choice. But I would like to believe that the common man understood, that Delhi would understand. Look at Delhi today, what it was 15 years ago and what it is today. There is very little place for complaint, and I will not accept it that we are somewhere there. I won't accept that. Yes, I can understand that there is a fatigue factor. I can understand that people are so spoilt that that they don't need to ask for anything more, and hence they want to look at something else. But I won't. It's like, you know, when you've seen all the good movies in town and you're just bored and you want to see some dumb film because it's there. It would mean that.
I'm quite intrigued by the analogy you draw, Renuka Chaudhary, but many of the opinion polls and the exit polls especially, I know the Congress party has rejected exit polls, but they are showing that the Congress party is going to have a 4-0 drubbing. If that happens, don't you think that the UPA would have lost the credibility to continue in power?
Everything is premature and wishful thinking, because that's not happening as yet, right? Second thing, you win some, you lose some. Elections are there, everybody gets into the fray to win, and we are fighting there to win. And whether we should dissolve the government, it's really not for the BJP to say. I can understand that they're so desperate to get into the chair, But I'm afraid they will have to wait a long time before they achieve their goal.
Well, Rahul, it seems, Renuka Chaudhary, thanks so much for that. And Rahul, it clearly seems that as far as the Congress party is concerned, they're keeping up a brave face right now, but jitters in the Congress camp for sure.
Well, it's very interesting to see Renuka Chaudhary say people in Delhi are so spoiled. It's like you've seen a great movie, Tavleen Singh, and then you want to see some trash, and therefore you go out and pick either the BJP or Arvind Kejriwal.
Well, she's actually a master of reducing a big political question to trivia. Because in fact, there is the shining Delhi, the metros and things like that. But I live on the edge of this city, and you should come and see where I live. Garbage is never collected, a road can break down, it's not repaired for years. There's a road being built between Bijwasan and Chhavla where I live that is being built for the past 10 years. So, you know, it's not such a shining thing. And then you've seen the violence that's come from those areas of Delhi where Sheila Dikshit has not looked.
No, can I just remind that garbage is not collected by the MCD which BJP runs, and roads not repaired is also by the MCD which BJP runs. So yes,
come on, I
think Congress is
let's respect the verdict.
No, but let me just tell you, just remind Tavleen ji.
People are, I think to say people.
I'm not really.
Narendra Modi ji also made that comment, but he is unaware as of most things.
I think Tavleen, I think you should keep your cool today.
I'm very cool. I'm just laughing.
I think you missed the point.
If you just clear my question.
MCD that's run, they pick up the garbage.
It's not just about garbage. What about the roads? What about the slum colonies that haven't been improved from where the rapists of Nirbhaya came? So, you know, it's not just the MCD. And she is virtually, in her role, the mayor of Delhi. Right.
But GV, you would concede at least this much, that Delhi is probably the only metropolitan. Tavleen, for example, also says in Mumbai, look at Bangalore, look at Kolkata. Delhi is the only metropolitan that is probably better off, hasn't degenerated like a lot of the other big cities has, and that is to Sheila Dikshit's credit. So there is a certain amount of anti-incumbency and frustration that's just built up by sheer number of years that Sheila Dikshit's been around.
Let me tell you, I think there is some set of boredom that has set in. A lack of willingness on the part of Congress party to govern the country. You've seen that happening with UPA too. I think perhaps they have served too long in government. I think they think 10 years and 15 years is too long, and this is time for us to take a break. I think they have simply not been governing. Where is the governance in Delhi? Where is it all India level? They are simply sleeping. That's point number one. And point number two is today there is a national mood. She is not only paying, this is a point I think it's worth repeating umpteen times, Sheila Dikshit is paying not only for her misdeeds, not only for lack of governance in Delhi, she is taking the brunt of Manmohan Singh's government's lack of governance, and actually this is a vote against Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, much more than Sheila Dikshit.
That at some level is probably true. It's not just anger against Sheila Dikshit, it's the larger anger against the Congress nationally. We're slipping into a break. When we come back, the man who the exit polls predict could potentially be the next Chief Minister of Delhi, Dr. Harshvardhan, will be joining us. We'll also be joined by Prashant Bhushan. They are the giant slayers of semi-final 2013, and I'm hoping in just a moment from now we'll have Chief Election Commissioner V.S. Sampath, the real heroes of this battle, because they've been able to ensure that more people than ever before come out and vote in each of the states. What made that record happen? We'll put that question to the Chief Election Commissioner when we come back on the other side of a quick break. You're watching Semi-Final 2013.